All right, let's pause. You can beep, and then let's get going.
Okay. Beep.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Making the Call podcast. I'm joined by Rosie to break down all the action from week 3 of the NFL slate, as well as get you ready for week 4. But before we get into that, let's go through some quick programming reminders. I've been mentioning it. Hopefully, you're well aware, and this programming reminder does not apply to you, but the Making the Call Substack, we are cooking over there, if I might say. We've got those Friday newsletters, getting you ready for the weekend slate all throughout the football season, and I'm really proud of the work that we've been putting in for those. I feel like they've been really well received. So make sure you're getting those. Go subscribe to the Making the Call Substack. It's free to subscribe. It's free to read every single newsletter. You can also download the Substack app, and you can join the football season gambling thread for the Making the Call newsletter, where myself, Trent, we've got listeners, shout out listener Matt, posting, player prop picks and things like that all throughout the weekend. So if you're into that sort of thing, make sure you go join the gambling thread on the Making the Call app, but for sure subscribe to the Making the Call newsletter so you can get some great fantasy picks from
Hey,
Rosie.
Andrew, yeah, we have an app. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
We have a Making the Call app?
No, the Substack app.
Okay. Gotcha.
Download the Substack app, and you can read all the newsletters. You'll get a push notification whenever the Friday newsletters go out. But then you can also join the gambling thread that we have, and you can get all of our picks for props, because obviously Trent's going to post his props in the newsletter, but then he'll also have some more that he usually finds throughout the weekend, and I'll have some that I like. And so if you're into the whole player prop thing, like it's a great outlet for that. So no, we don't have a Making the Call app, but we do have a Substack.
Not
app.
yet. Not yet.
Yes.
I hope you didn't read the week 2 of my fantasy starts of the week. Week 2, but I hope you read week 3, because week 3 was great.
Week 3 was great, and honestly, like you mentioned, Calvin Austin in week 2, and he went off this week. So
yeah. Just 1 week late.
You weren't wrong. You were just early.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I tend to do.
So go subscribe to that. We'll have a link directly to the newsletter and the show notes for this podcast. So go subscribe to that. All right, Rosie, before we get into recapping week 3, we each have one big headline to start off the podcast. What is yours?
So mine, let's take you back in time for a second.
Okay.
This is Rosie, start of the summer, thinking, I need to buy low on running backs, because there's this discourse right now about how running backs aren't getting paid and they're not useful. And I was like, well, sure, maybe some running backs are sharing more, but this league right now is about the 2 high safety. And even this year, we've seen the 3 high safety. So that should invite the run. We should see a bounce back from running backs. That was my thought.
Mm-hmm.
And since I was already buying low on running backs, I just full sent it. Running backs suck. and teams in general suck at running the ball. I mean, we have to have like our lowest yards per carry among teams. And I was thinking about it today, and I was like, how many teams in the NFL are like effective at running the ball consistently? Like the 49ers, the Cowboys.
Yeah. The Eagles.
I wouldn't even say the Eagles. Like, I don't think they've had they had Swift against the Vikings, but they haven't been like consistently really good.
Yeah. Miami.
And Miami. That's the third one. And so it's like, what is going on where we have like the lightest boxes we've ever had in the NFL, and running backs still can't run the ball?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I don't know if part of me wonders if it's that players in like the front 7 on the defense have just gotten faster and more athletic, to where now you can't just rely on pure athleticism in the run game. Like it's really all about, do you have a good offensive line who's going to open up holes, open up gaps for the running backs to run through? And the teams you listed off, the Niners, Miami, like that's exactly what they do. Like the Niners have Trent Williams, and they've got George Kittle, who's probably, I would say, the best blocking tight end in the game. And so they open up these holes for a very athletic running back in McCaffrey. But I don't know what it is, but you're absolutely right. Like I kind of was thinking the same thing going into the season. Like, oh, I think we zag now because everyone's saying zero running back. And so I'm in like a 2-player keeper league. And it was actually the league that I got last place in last year and had to do the Waffle House challenge for. And so I had like the first overall pick. Like I had traded away some guys for some good draft capital. So I had lots of draft picks. I was like, all right, like this is my chance to like rebound, right? So I decided I took Tyreek Hill with the first overall pick because there were a lot of guys who were being kept. So like that was kind of the best option. And it was either him or Kelsey. And then I just went running back heavy for like the next 3 rounds. And the running backs I got were Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Aaron Jones, Jonathan Taylor, Damian Pierce, and outside of Aaron Jones in week 1, they all have been awful. Now,
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor hasn't played, but like Josh Jacobs was what, RB1 last year or RB3? And he's done nothing.
No, I think he was RB1 last year, actually.
He in. Okay, I'm looking at Sleeper. It says he was RB3.
Oh, okay.
He's done nothing.
He led the league in rushing. That's what happened.
That's what it was. Damian Pierce finally got a touchdown, but he hasn't been doing anything. And it's just like, yeah, the running backs suck this year. Like, unless you're the Dolphins or McCaffrey, like, it's a crapshoot.
And it's like Kyle Shanahan with the run scheme, and that translated to Mike McDaniels. Mike McDaniels was the running backs coach before he went to Miami. So, and then Tony Pollard's just great. So,
yeah, no, I love Tony Pollard. Okay, that's a good story to start off. Mine, I know this is going to be a football heavy podcast, but I need to mention it. My story is baseball because the Cowboys laid an egg against the Cardinals, and honestly, I could care less because the winner of this weekend was the Texas Rangers. Not only did the Rangers sweep the Seattle Mariners, but the Kansas City Royals walked into Houston and swept the Astros. And the Rangers now have a 2.5 game lead in the division with 7 games to go. They start a 3-game series Monday night against the Angels. They end the season with a 4-game series against the Mariners. Astros start a 3-game series Monday night against the Mariners, and then they have a 3-game series against the Diamondbacks. So Rangers have positioned themselves nicely in this AL West battle. And honestly, the 3-way gauntlet between the Rangers, Astros, and Mariners is probably the biggest story in baseball right now going into the playoffs, and who's going to win that division, because you look at those 3 teams, you add in the Blue Jays, and 3 of those 4 are going to make the playoffs. One of them's not, and you could be looking at a world where the defending world champion Houston Astros could be on the outside looking in the postseason this October, which would just be wild. And of course, that is what I'm rooting for. I would love to see some sad Astros fans. So this week is going to be just unbelievable. I know we're going to be up late watching these West Coast games, but it's going to be worth it because we're basically getting a week of playoff baseball before the playoffs even start. And it's just, Trent and I went to the game on Saturday. It was a lot of fun. It felt like a playoff atmosphere. I think it was like 36,000 fans. People were loud and cheering and on their feet, and it was just great. So my big headline is Texas Rangers baseball because it is a lot of fun right now. So also Corey Seager should be in the conversation for MVP, but that's my opinion. All right. Week 3 NFL slate is in the books. I know we've got this Eagles-Buccaneers game going on right now. It looks like the Eagles just scored to take a 10-3 lead. We'll have another Sunday night game immediately following, or I guess it's starting like now with the Rams. Who are the Rams playing? Rams and the Bengals. But let's just go through some takeaways. We'll just go back and forth, talk about as many games as we want to, and just see where it takes us. So what's one takeaway that you have from the Week 3 action?
Well, I wanted to start with the Lions, get them out of the way.
What? I'm shocked.
I mean, this is the first week I think they've looked good. And they held Bijan Robinson to 30 yards 30 something yards. It was insane. Um, so I think the Lions are starting to be legit, even though they lost a lot of players. So
They looked good, and they had a good game plan on defense to where they basically said, "We know, Arthur Smith, that you don't want Desmond Ridder to throw the ball, so we're going to make you have Desmond Ridder throw the ball, and we're not going to let you run the ball. We're going to shut down Bijan Robinson. We're going to shut down Tyler Algier, and we're going to make you beat you other ways." And obviously, Ridder and the Falcons can't do that. They're not capable of that right now. And they only scored 6 points against a Lions defense that kind of got worked the previous week.
Yeah, they gave up 36 to the Seahawks
against Seattle. So, I thought the Lions looked really good. They're going to have a short week. It's crazy that the Lions have 3 Thursday night games this season. Which the first one, the first one doesn't have like an adverse effect. If anything, the first one actually helps you because
absolutely,
you get like a long bye before week 2. But already going on another Thursday night game, traveling to Lambeau to take on the Packers is a pretty quick turnaround. But this is not.
I don't really understand why week 1 wasn't like the Thursday night game.
Yeah, because most teams play one Thursday night game with the exception of like the Thanksgiving games, right? That the Cowboys and the Lions play. But yeah, it's weird. I feel like there's quite a few like scheduling quirks this season that we haven't really seen in years past. But no, the Lions looked good. It's a good win for them. Goff looked really good. And yeah, it was a solid win for the Lions.
How are you ranking the top 5 teams in the NFC?
Right now?
Yeah.
Niners 1. I'm still going to put the Cowboys there because we can get into them next if we want. I'm really not putting a ton of weight in what happened against Arizona. That was a sloppy game. They were getting penalized all over the place, and defense clearly wasn't up for that game. They got in a hole early, and honestly, credit to the Cardinals because they looked really good. But I would say Niners 1, Cowboys 2, and then I would say like a tie for third between the Lions and the Eagles is what I would say. And then the 5th team, is there a 5th good team in the NFC?
I would still put Seattle up there.
Okay.
They got beat by the Rams. So you could put the Rams on there too. We'll see after tonight.
Yeah.
But I think Seattle just has more to work with. And all these teams are going to drop a game.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure that week 1 was all that concerning.
Yeah. I think that like everyone's been saying that there's kind of the top 3 in the NFC with the Niners, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. Obviously, my feelings about the Eagles are well documented, so I'm not going to get into that, especially with their week 3 game going on right now. But I do think if the Lions are firing on all cylinders, they can flirt with that tier. And then after the Lions, I think there's a drop off to whoever the next tier of teams is in the NFC.
Yeah, I would. I want to wait till this Thursday to see what happens. I think the Lions are well equipped to stomp on the Packers. I don't think the Packers have looked all that good, even though they've been winning games.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I'm not sure if Love is the answer there. They're not bad. They're not a bad team by any stretch. But if the Lions can handily beat the Packers like they have last year, I think the Lions have to be in that conversation with the Niners and the Eagles and, still the Cowboys.
Yeah, okay. Well, let's talk about that Cowboys game. Again, we don't have to spend a ton of time on it. Kind of like the Lions, we can get it out of the way and then talk about the other games. I'm throwing all that film in the trash. Like, every team has one of those weird games where they lose to a team they shouldn't lose to, And it's usually early in the year, and you're like, how did that happen? Like, people forget, or maybe people don't forget, that the Niners lost week 1 to the Chicago Bears last year. And the Chicago Bears were 2-1 3 weeks into the season last year. And then they would go on to win one more game the rest of the season. So I think this whole not having preseason and also the Cowboys being without Tyron Smith, their left tackle, Tyler Biotish, their center, and Zach Martin, their right guard, really, I mean, there was no pass protection. Like, they were able to still get by in the running game, but there was no time for Dak in that pocket. And it wasn't honestly, I thought Dak played pretty well outside of that pick at the end of the game, which when you look at it in a vacuum, you're like, oh, all right, there's Dak throwing a pick again. But they had to get into the end zone, and there were a lot of plays where Dak was going through like two or three reads, and everyone was covered, and then he was like, well, crap, I can't throw the ball to anyone. And then he would kind of break out of the pocket. He'd try to scramble. He'd see if someone else could get open. Like, there was a lot of, like, again, credit to the Cardinals because their coverage was on point in that game. And that interception felt a lot like a coverage interception where none of his guys were open. And it's like, all right, I got to try and force it. It's the end of the game. We have to make something happen. And it clearly didn't work out. So I can't even hate on him too much for that pick. But it was a bad game. I think you just throw it out. You try to bounce back against New England this week and you move on.
Yeah, I think there might have been too many victory laps taken after 2 weeks of Giants in the rain and Zach Wilson Jets. Calling Cowboy. I mean, they were the number one team on a lot of power rankings, and
well, no other team had looked as dominant as they had. So these power rankings, like, you kind of do them week to week. So that's not even. They never were like the favorite to win the Super Bowl. Like, any sports book didn't have them as like the top team in Super Bowl odds. So I don't know. It's early in the season. You go off of what you have in front of you. Yeah, was it some small sample size overreaction? Probably. But I also think this Cardinals team is friskier than we all thought they would be because they've been in all 3 games this year.
I mean, I'm not sure if there's any like bad teams in the NFL right now.
Chicago.
To be honest. Chicago is pretty bad.
I think Chicago is like in a class of its own.
I still think they're going to win games because, I mean,
yeah, they might.
They got better than last year, right? Like
at this point last year, they were 2-1.
yeah, exactly. Only up from here.
Yeah.
But you want to talk about that game next?
The Taylor Swift game?
Yeah, Tay-Tay game.
I mean, to me, I don't even think there's much to talk about from an on the field standpoint.
Well, since Trent's not here, I think we gotta completely stop with Justin Fields.
Yeah. Well, so I don't know if you listened to last week, but I played the somber music and everything to talk about how I was worried about Justin Fields. So I'm right there with you. It has not looked good, but I will stand by this take that I don't know what quarterbacks are succeeding in Chicago right now with everything else. Quarterbacks that are like in the league right now outside of like, a Mahomes or something. Because everything is bad. It's not just Fields. Everything is bad.
I heard y'all talk about it last week, so maybe if I can like put it into a fantasy conversation. Like people were being laughed at for taking Trevor Lawrence over Justin Fields because it was like Justin Fields' floor is super high. Like, he's going to do good no matter what because he's going to rush the ball. And like I wasn't completely off of Fields. I still had him ranked pretty high, but I was saying all offseason, like, he has to progress as a passer if he's going to be viable for fantasy. Like, rushing's great. You have to be good at passing the ball to be really good, to be one of those top guys.
I mean, there's only one combined point separating Lawrence and Fields right now. Lawrence hasn't been good from a fantasy standpoint either this year.
Did not know that.
Yeah. Lawrence,
but
through 3 weeks, Lawrence is at 41.3 fantasy points. Justin Fields is 39.9. So it's 1.4
Yeah.
points.
I still expect that distance to lengthen. It was a sloppy game for the Jaguars too. That you kind of just want to throw out.
Well,
But
keep going.
no, you go.
The thesis on Justin Fields from a fantasy standpoint made sense. It's just they're not running him. Like the argument for Fields was he has such a high floor because if you look at his 2022 season, he was, getting you minimum 10 points rushing each game. And that's not happening because they're not doing designed runs. All of his rushing yards are off of scrambles out of the pocket. Like they're not giving him the opportunity to get out in space. So I stand by the thesis before the season. It's just it hasn't materialized like we thought it was going to.
Yeah, I just feel like we should have seen that coming. That if the Bears as a team want to succeed, they're not going to do it on the legs of Justin Fields. And bringing in DJ Moore, you'd think that they would pass the ball more and see what Justin Fields has, and it's not much. So, I mean, and if they keep losing, this is probably the best thing for the Bears because they can get Caleb Williams a better quarterback.
Yeah. It just feels like they're not. Like I saw someone make this point. I forget who it was, so I apologize, but Greg Roman in Chicago would design a really good offense around Justin Fields. Like they would win games with his system in place. It just feels like offensively they don't have any identity, which that's like the worst place to be in the NFL is if you don't know what you are. Like credit to Arthur Smith, he knows what his team is and he's consistent, right? He's not going to use his pass catchers. He's going to do heavy run sets and he's just going to control time of possession. And that's his formula, right? But the Bears don't have that identity. And I don't know. It just feels like everything is going wrong there. Does some of the blame belong on Justin Fields? Absolutely. Does 100% of the blame belong on Justin Fields? Absolutely not.
I agree. I think the coaching staff is lacking there too.
Yeah. All right. My first takeaway, although we've already knocked out 3 games, so we're doing good. It is hard not to be impressed with C.J. Stroud's start to his young career. I mean, he has looked very, very good, especially for a rookie. He's 3rd in passing attempts of 10-plus yards. He is 11th in quarterback rating. He's 4th in total yards, all without an interception. He looks composed in the pocket. When things break down, he still makes very impressive throws. That win against Jacksonville was very, very nice for a very young, scrappy Houston team. And obviously that win was not all on C.J. Stroud because there was some weird stuff that happened. There were some turnovers by the defense. You had the kick return for a touchdown by the fullback. It was just it was a crazy game, but I think Stroud does deserve a lot of credit because he has looked, I mean, through 3 games, he's been the most impressive rookie. You could make a case for Anthony Richardson, but it's kind of, we've only seen a game and a half from him because of his concussion, unfortunately. But if you're a Texans fan, which I was talking to a coworker this morning who is a Texans fan, and he's ecstatic. He's like, we might actually have someone, he wasn't that confident in the pick of Stroud because that draft night was kind of crazy where they took Stroud and then they traded back up to get Will Anderson. It's like, wow, you're going to trade your 2024 first round pick? Like that could be a top 5 pick. But Will Anderson has looked good. Stroud has looked good. And through 3 games, I'm very impressed.
Yeah, I might have to walk back my takes on Stroud because he's looked really good. Plain and simple. I'm not going to crown him quite yet because I don't think the competition has been all that steep for him. And his receiving core is a lot better than people thought it was going to be.
Shout out Tank Dell.
Tank Dell, great sleeper. I have him everywhere. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Shout out to Nico Collins also. He's also looked good.
And Robert Woods, the ghost of Robert Woods, is still hanging around. So,
yeah. Robert Woods, he's a rookie quarterback needs that veteran receiver.
Oh, absolutely.
So I loved that addition for the Texans.
Yeah. The thing about Stroud that's been so impressive is that his offensive line might be the worst in the league, and he's performing really well under pressure. I think that's also a credit to the coaching staff with D'Amico Ryans and their offensive coordinator. I can't remember his name.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Solak or something. The Texans might be scrappy. They might be a scrappy team.
Bobby Slowick.
Bobby Slowick, yeah. I'm wanting to wait till they play a good defense, though.
All right, when's going to be their first test? Hold on, let's take a look.
I'm trying to look, and it doesn't look like it. I mean, Saints maybe.
They play the Steelers this week. Steelers are a decent defense.
I wouldn't say that.
TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick. I mean, they've got playmakers.
They got two guys, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're not. I mean, honestly, if you want to say the best defense they're going to play is going to be Week 16 against the Browns on Christmas Eve.
Yeah, that's going to be a real challenge.
Yeah.
I would be trying to sell CJ Stroud in fantasy.
Really?
Plain and simple. I think there's
even
no
in
run
Dynasty,
game.
like Superflex Dynasty, you'd be trying to
I think
move
especially in Dynasty.
Oh. I don't agree with that at all.
They don't have a first-round pick. Or they do have a first, but it's the Browns. I'm not sure if they can. I mean, this offensive line is a work in progress. They're gonna get worse before they get better too. So,
I mean, they're a little banged up though. Like, hasn't Tunsil been out, or did he come back?
But he's also like what 30.
But he's still. I mean, he's still tip top at that position.
Yeah, I just think that if you could flip CJ Stroud for, like, let's say Anthony Richardson has another bad game. Or a bad game, sorry. I would probably do that in a heartbeat.
Stroud for Richardson?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, yeah, that seems fair. I don't know. I guess selling Stroud, it depends on what you can get for him. Like, if you're getting someone to overpay, then I could see it, but I wouldn't move off of him because you think, like, I don't think this is as valuable as he's going to be. Like, I think his value is going to go up.
I'm not, maybe after one more good week. But I think this.
I mean, in Dynasty, it's more long term. So, like, I think his value is going to go up. I mean, if you look at how many good quarterbacks there are in the NFL right now, they're really, from a fantasy standpoint, there really aren't that many because a lot of people have been disappointing. Like, it's all the craze was all these running quarterbacks, and like the top fantasy quarterbacks I think so far,
Kirk Cousins and Jordan Love,
is Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Tua, Jordan Love, and Patrick Mahomes. So I think the passing quarterback is back, baby.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Running backs are just running the ball in general. It's done. No more.
Yeah, we're done running the ball. This is the passing league.
Yeah. All right. What's another takeaway?
Well, I want to bring up the Vikings and Chargers.
What
a fun game. Oh, my gosh.
Has there ever been a game where we all expected like a certain vibe to that game and then it just absolutely delivered?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I think the other, like, somewhat recent example would have been that, like, Chiefs-Rams Monday Night Football game where there was, like, over 100 points scored, and it was just, like, touchdown after touchdown, where we all expected firepower, and that's what we got. But we all expected chaos, and that's exactly what we got with this game.
Love it. I enjoyed that game the most. Kirk Cousins and Justin Herbert slinging it. Oh, my gosh. My jaw is on the floor every time I watch Justin Herbert play. Some of those throws, like 50 yards back across your body as you're sprinting out to the left, I don't know if many quarterbacks can do that.
Yeah. He has been unbelievable this year. Like I know you've obviously been the highest on him on this podcast, and I've criticized him when I feel like criticism has been warranted, but he has been awesome. Week 3, 40 of 47, 405 yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks. Still doesn't have a pick on the year with 6 touchdowns so far. And he's throwing the ball
That breaks
deep.
the record, right? The highest completion rate for over 45 passes or something.
Maybe. I
He
haven't
broke
seen
some
that.
record.
Okay. But he's looked really good. I think that it was a classic like Kellen Moore showing in that Vikings game where all the talk has been on Brandon Staley going for it on 4th and 1 and not getting it. I thought the decision was right. I thought the play call was awful.
Yeah, why are you doing a fullback dive when your running back has 10 yards on the game?
Your backup running back, because your starting running back's injured, right?
Right.
Like, what? Like,
They
that
could have
just,
done literally anything else.
I saw that play and I just had flashbacks to when Kellen Moore was on the Cowboys. I was like, the amount of times that Kellen Moore has done the halfback dive to Ezekiel Elliott on 4th and inches and it's gotten stuffed because he didn't have a good running back. And it's like, dude, you have Justin Herbert. Like, you can do a fake handoff bootleg out to the right side where you have 2 tight ends and a wide receiver running different routes. One of them's going to be open. And if they're not open, that means that everyone's in coverage and Justin Herbert can run for the first down. I just don't get it.
Yeah, please, for the love of God, put it in Justin Herbert's hands, especially after the game that he was performing.
Yeah, they weren't running the ball well. That was the one thing they weren't doing well was running the ball. So I don't even fault Brandon Staley for that. Like, it was a bad play call, point blank. But
I think what you do fault him for, though, is his defense has been awful.
yes,
Like,
and he's a
straight
defensive
garbage.
coach.
Yeah, and he should know what he's doing. He does have pieces on that defense. Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Derwin James. Those guys are really good. They should not be nearly as bad as they are.
Yeah,
Even against Justin Jefferson.
yeah.
And talking about the Vikings, I told you so. I told you also.
I mean, it's been rough. It has been. I still don't think. I know all the stats about teams who start 0-3. I do want to say that those stats, majority of them are in a 16-game schedule. So I do think we kind of need to change the calculus with the 17th game because you have not only that, but also with the 7th playoff team. Like it's easier to make the playoffs now than it used to be in the old format. So I do think we need to consider that. And if you look at the Vikings, they have played. Hold on, I'm pulling up their schedule. Buccaneers game. The Buccaneers game they should have won. That was just an ugly game. Eagles, they just got outplayed, and then the Chargers. I mean, it came down to the final play, and I think you look at them. They've got the Panthers, the Chiefs, and the Bears coming up. And you'd like to think they win 2 of those games. Maybe they surprise people and they beat the Chiefs. It's in Minneapolis. Then they're 3-3 and they're right back into it. So I know everyone this morning, Monday morning is talking about, they need to trade Kirk Cousins to the Jets or to someone, but Kirk has a full no trade clause. So he's going to have to be willing to leave Minnesota, which I don't know if with him being a free agent at the end of this year, if he's going to be willing to uproot his kids and his family middle of the year to go, play for the Jets. Like, come on.
Behind that offensive line, and from a fantasy perspective, I would hate that for Kirk Cousins. I want him right where he is, throwing 50 passes a game.
Yeah. I mean,
they're not making the playoffs, though. There's no way. They're not a good team.
I wouldn't pick them to make the playoffs, but 0-3, if they did make the playoffs, it's not going to surprise me because I do think they are still talented. Like, they still have. Honestly, if you have Justin Jefferson, I have a hard time counting you out in any game because he's one of the few skill position players who can take over a game, and it changes the calculus of the whole game. So
yeah, I mean they're scrappy for sure. but I'm not sure if that's enough.
Yeah. Okay. My next takeaway is I got to say, I think this past Friday was the perfect time to write about the juggernaut that is the Dolphins offense. Because if I can take you back to the Friday football newsletter over on the Making the Call Substack that came out this past Friday, I did in my NFL segment this week. It was NFL small sample size stats that might matter. And the first one I chose, I titled it Mike McDaniel is a wizard, but Tua also deserves recognition as a passer. And I laid out all these stats, talked about how Tua had the quickest time to throw in the NFL, but he also leads the NFL in average completed air yards and average intended air yards. So he's getting the ball out fast, and he's also throwing it down the field. And I talked about how this Miami offense is kind of just like the perfect marriage of three different things, where you have a Mike McDaniel offensive scheme that is just incredible. It creates easy throws for his quarterback. Then you have Tua, who does a great job at executing the game plan, makes quick decisions, throws accurate passes. And then third, you've got speed demons in Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. And it just allows for this quick decision air raid offense to work. And boy, oh boy, did that offense work on Sunday. I mean, 70-20 with
Yeah, wow.
with their backups in all the fourth quarter. Like,
I mean, it's really a match made in heaven with Tyreek, Tua, and Mike McDaniels. I think there's also a stat where they lead the league in completed air yards, and they have the quickest time to throw.
yes.
Those two things should not go together.
I know. That's
but
what
Tyreek
I mean. That's
and
what I
Waddle
wrote
are so
about. Yeah.
fast. Like,
Well,
I mean,
not
they
only
just get it
that, I
done.
had another stat, and granted, this was all through week 2, that Tua leads the league in, or maybe he doesn't lead the league. No, I thought he did. At throwing the ball 1.6 air yards beyond the sticks. So every time he throws a ball, not a completion, but just throws a ball, it's traveling 1.6 yards beyond the first down marker. Like they're in a, like you said, you don't lead the league in time to throw and also air yards. Like that doesn't happen. But that's what happened. That's what's happening in Miami, and it's unbelievable. Like the fact that they put on that sort of offensive performance without Jalen Waddle.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yeah. I mean, and then the ground game was just working. Devon A-Chain, oh my gosh, he looks so good. And he's always been a solid back. So, I mean, buy A-Chain if you still can. If people are selling them.
I mean, Mostert had like over 140 scrimmage yards and 4 touchdowns, and he was not the highest scoring fantasy running back on his team.
Crazy.
So we were talking about kind of the speed of this Miami offense, and I saw a stat where you know how Next Gen Stats will track like the fastest ball carriers of the season?
Yeah.
Through 3 weeks. You want to know what the top 5 are?
Go for it.
Number 1 is Devon A-Chain. Number 2 is Tyreek Hill. Number 3 is Raheem Mostert. Number 4 is Tyreek Hill again. And number 5 is Devon A-Chain again.
It shouldn't be happening. It really shouldn't.
They are the top 5 fastest ball carriers. Like, it's crazy, man. All 5 of them got up to over 21 miles per hour. Devon A-Chain got up to 21.93, almost 22 miles per hour. Just, if Tua can stay healthy, which I know they made a point of emphasis about, he took jiu-jitsu and learned how to fall, and so far I think he's only been sacked once. Like they've been protecting him, and if that's the case, I'm willing to say that they're at the top. Like they should be in that top tier in the AFC.
Let's wait 1 week.
Why?
They play the Bills next week.
Okay.
because I would love to talk about that game. Before we do,
We'll
can I
get to
talk
it.
about can I talk about the other side of the ball really quick?
Sure.
Marvin Mims, baby.
I mean, yeah.
He looks really good. He had a kickoff return for a touchdown. I said to start him in the fantasy article for the Substack.
You did.
And he finished as the wide receiver 19, which is pretty nice. You want to hear these yards per catch the last 2 weeks?
Give it to me.
Week 2, 56.5 yards per catch. And this week, 24.3 yards per catch. So if he can get on the field more, and if I were the Broncos, I'd be playing him more than 24% of the snaps. Because that's what he's getting right now. The last 2 weeks, it's been 24% and 24%. I expect that to increase because they got to start winning games.
It has to, right?
Yeah.
I bet once they make the move to Stidham at quarterback, then you'll get some more Marvin Mims, which might be this week.
Yeah. Also, Michael Penix to the Broncos.
Ooh. Just keep
Making
him.
the call now.
Uh-huh. Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Penix. Hold on. I wasn't expecting this. Here we go.
Well, don't do it after I already said it.
Okay, never mind. I'll cut it short.
False alarm.
False alarm. I think they need to aim higher. I think they need to get a top 2 pick and get either Caleb Williams or Drake May.
I'm almost ready to put Michael Penix in the Drake May tier.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, he looks so good, and the only reason why he hasn't been good is because of his ACL tears, which, I mean, that could bump him down.
Okay. So let's see. That was my takeaway about the Dolphins offense. Did you have any other takeaways from week 3?
Do the listeners know about our bet for making the call every week?
Oh, like we each pick a line?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been updating them.
Okay. Because I got the Steelers last week.
You did?
I did. And you do realize that gives me 2 points, right?
Were they plus 250?
They were plus 250.
Wait, no. Well, but you took the... No. The spread was 2.5. You just took the spread.
Oh.
No.
I misunderstood the rules. Dang it.
No. You took... Okay, so if the underdog's money line, if the odds are plus 250...
Wow.
Then it's worth
You're
double.
telling me this for the first time.
I've mentioned this several times. I'm not putting up with that.
I'm not a bettor. I'm just getting into this, man.
Yes,
I don't know what the terms mean.
Okay, so you took the point spread, which it was Steelers plus 2.5. So as long as they didn't lose by 3 or more, you were going to win your bet.
Oh, okay. Whoops.
So if you would have taken the Steelers to win outright, like for example, if you would have taken the Cardinals to upset the Cowboys, I forget what their odds were, but it was certainly greater than plus 250. Then it would have been worth double. So It's a way like you can take a decent underdog and try to kind of get back into it.
Gotcha. Well, thoughts on that game? Steelers and Raiders look awful.
Yeah, thoughts on that game is I hardly watched it because I've tried to teach myself that I don't have to suscept myself to bad football. So when I saw it was Steelers-Raiders Sunday night, I said, okay, I don't need to stay up late to watch this. I can go to bed.
Yeah, that's probably a healthy choice.
And based on the discourse after it, I don't feel like I missed out on anything.
No, you definitely didn't.
So, all right. A takeaway from me is I think this Browns defense deserves a lot of credit. I know, they looked good against Cincinnati week 1, and you realize, okay, Cincinnati's hurt. Joe Burrow's hurt his ankle, doesn't look right, but the EPA per play, so they track it for defenses as well, right? So it's basically inverse. So the lower EPA per play, the better your defense is performing because you're stifling the offense. The Browns defense through 3 weeks is first in drop back EPA per play allowed and second in rush EPA per play allowed. And when you look at like the chart where it's, plots everyone on a graph, they're in the top right corner because they're the best at both. And you watch these games and it doesn't seem fluky either. Like when you have Myles Garrett and you have the Tennessee Titans taking a delay of game penalty because they have 2 tight ends who are assigned to blocking him. So Myles Garrett moves over to the right side of the line. So the 2 tight ends go in motion together to go follow him.
They had to follow him. Oh,
and so then
gosh.
he goes back to the left side. So then they follow him back to the left. And at this point, he's just laughing like, oh, okay, this is what we're doing. All right, sounds good.
I mean, this is comparable to lying 2 cornerbacks next to each other against Calvin Johnson back in the day.
Exactly. It's just like that. So this Browns defense is, they swarm the football. They are flying all over the place. And I wanted to give them a shout out because obviously we don't like talking about the Browns very much, mainly because of who's at quarterback. But that doesn't affect how good the defense is playing, and the defense deserves a lot of credit.
I mean, signing Zonovan Smith and Dalvin Tomlinson along with Myles Garrett, whew. Yeah. I mean, that's just a beast of a defensive line to go against.
Agreed. Did you have anything else from this week?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Let's get into week 4 then. Before we do, got to tell you about our friends over at Liquid IV. I'm running out. I've got like a few packets left in the bag you see behind me if you're watching on the Making the Call YouTube. So I'm going to be ordering some here soon. Trying to decide what flavor I want to go with because honestly, I haven't tried a flavor I didn't like. Liquid IV is delicious. It hydrates you twice as fast as water alone. It's got 3 times the electrolytes of traditional sports drinks. It is the best hydration multiplier out there. It's delicious. It got the new sugar-free line with the lemon lime and the white peach, which I've tried both of those, and they are fantastic. If you've got kids, they've got a brand new kids line of hydration multipliers, which I know Austin's daughter loves them. That's all she wants to drink now. She doesn't even want to drink plain water because she's like, no, I want the Liquid IV. So we couldn't be bigger fans of them here at Making the Call. We're excited to be partnering with them. You can go try Liquid IV today and get 20% off when you go to liquidiv.com. Use code MTC at checkout. That's 20% off anything you order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MTC at liquidiv.com. All right, let's look to week 4. We've talked about some of these games a little bit already. Let's just go back and forth. We'll just mention a game that we really like or a game that we're excited for. We'll talk about it for a little bit and we'll move on to the next one. So I'll let you go first.
It has to be Bills Dolphins. Let's see how legit the Dolphins actually are. And with the Bills bouncing back against the Raiders and
the Commanders.
The Commanders, I mean, just showing those 2 teams that they're not going to make it this year. Let's see what happens against the Dolphins, because I think what the Bills have trouble with is those defensive juggernauts like the Jets, and if they were to go up against the Browns, I don't think they'll have a problem with the Dolphins defense. So it's just going to be a shootout. Take the over.
Yeah, the one thing that concerns me about the Bills here is it's going to be a shootout. I mean, so Buffalo's favored by 2.5 at home. The over-under is 53.5. So you got to get to 54 to get the over, which is a lot of points. I mean, that's 8 touchdowns. So what that comes down to. So basically just Raheem Mostert and Devon Achane from week 3, and you get there.
Well, that's all.
8 touchdowns. But the one thing that worries me if I'm a Bills fan is Josh Allen has had 2 good bounce-back games against the Raiders and the Commanders, but he's also been comfortable in the fact that those games were out of hand pretty early, right? Like, I know the Raiders scored first in that game. They went up 7-0, but after that, it was pretty much all Bills. And, I mean, they beat the Commanders. The Commanders, they were shutting them out, and they got, a field goal late. The thing that worries me about him is, and I don't think you'll disagree with this, but he is a lot more reckless with the football. He's willing to take those chances a lot more than someone like Tua. And so I could see the Josh Allen interception bug being a factor in this game to where he knows how powerful the Miami offense is. So he almost tries to do too much to kind of go pound for pound against him, and then he lets a few throws get away from him. That would be my one concern, but it's going to be a fun game. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, I would be worried about that too, because it seems that Josh Allen just has those games where you can't really explain it. He just throws into double coverage just randomly and for no reason. And I think on the other side of the ball, the Bills have been a really good defense so far, even without Von Miller. I think this will probably be the best test the Dolphins have had so far. Because, I mean, the Broncos didn't really put up much of a chance, and they play week 1.
Yeah.
The Chargers. Week 1.
Yeah.
Wow, this is not good podcasting. I'm sorry.
The Chargers week 1 against the Dolphins.
Yeah, and then, okay, the Patriots. That's a good defense. But I think this will be their best test. To see how legit they are.
All right, my first game is actually going to be the first game of the week, and it's Thursday night, Lions at Packers, because I think the Lions have looked good. I think the Packers, so many people are high on Jordan Love, and I'm telling you guys, I wrote about it in the Substack. Like, I just don't see it. It feels too good to be true. I mentioned through 2 weeks, he was leading the league in aggressive throws, where 25% of his passes were considered aggressive, which the definition is the defender is within 1 yard or less of the receiver. For context, Dak led the league in aggressiveness last season at 19.8. So Jordan Love is 5 points higher. If I had to ask you, Rosie, do you think his aggressive percentage for the season went down or went up after week 3? It was at 25% through 2 weeks.
Oh, so we're just asking for week 3?
Well, like, do you think week 3 raised or lowered his average for the season?
Lowered?
It went up to 29%.
All right. Okay.
If I look at just week 3 alone, what does that make his week 3 number at? He was aggressive on 34% of his throws. Like, the fact that he only had the 1 interception, and part of it could speak to the fact that his receivers aren't really getting separation, so he's having to throw into tight windows.
I'm not sure that's it.
But I don't think that's it either. I think that's probably part of it, but I don't think that's the whole story.
I think that's just how he plays, and honestly, he hasn't gotten punished for it yet. And with how the Lions defense played last week, the Lions might punish him for it. They're ball hawks. And
I will give him credit where credit is due. That comeback he had, especially like sealing it with the rushing touchdown, was impressive. Like that showed some, he's got some oomph in him. And so I'll give him credit for that. But I think as a passer, it feels like fool's gold right now, and I think the bill's going to come due.
I might have made this comp in the offseason, but he reminds me a lot of Jameis Winston. Like athletic, great arm, can just make fantastic plays. I mean, that comeback was really good against the Saints. But you're going to have these games where he's going to ruin the whole game for everyone. Yeah. He's going to have a 3 or 4 interception game. So I don't know if that's going to happen this week. They're going to get Bakhtiari back, probably. They've been saving Christian Watson for this game, it seems like.
Short week, too.
Yeah, short week.
We'll see if Aaron Jones is back for the Packers.
Aaron Jones as well. Yep, good point. I think they were kind of saving them for this Thursday night game because it's going to be a big one.
I kind of think so too, especially with it being a division game. So, all right, next game you're excited for next weekend.
You definitely took the other one that I was excited for.
I couldn't help it. I know it's your Lions, but it just...
No. Please do. I just don't know if there's a whole lot of great games on the slate for week 4. Let's go Ravens-Browns.
I'm excited for that, but I also feel like that game is going to be gross.
It could get really gross really quick.
It's going to be it's going to be 6-3 at halftime.
Yeah, I'm there for it though. I kind of like the defensive slogs.
Yeah. Take the under.
Yeah, definitely take the under on that one. But Lamar Jackson has played okay. Zay Jones has kind of fallen off. I need to see something from the Ravens offense because they right now have every opportunity to take the division. And then on the other side of the ball, Deshaun Watson, he played well last week, other than throwing it backwards for whatever reason. He got lost and threw it to the other side of the field. He needs to probably step it up.
Yeah. It's going to be a good game because both teams are good defensively. And it's going to be interesting to see which unit prevails. I'm kind of interested, I don't know. I'm a little interested about how this offense is going to look without Chubb, because I would like to see them kind of spread it out more and lean more on Deshaun Watson to see if he can still do that, right? Because they haven't really had to do that up to this point. They've been able to lean on their run game, and they haven't asked him to do too much. And so I'm going to be interested to see if that's a transition we see throughout the season where they say, well, now we don't have a very good run game. Like, we've got this quarterback who's going to be making $60 million a year for like the next 4 years. Let's see if he can still do it. So I think that's going to be a really fun game. I do think it's going to be ugly, but I'm excited for it.
Well, do you want to know what Jerome Ford got last week? He had a really good fantasy day because he scored 2 touchdowns, but he went 10 attempts for 18 yards. So far, post-Chubb era, not looking great.
Exactly. Okay. Next game for me. Honestly, the Colts hosting the Rams, especially if Anthony Richardson is back. Because if Richardson's in there, even without him, but especially with him in there, I really like this Shane Steichen offense in Indianapolis.
It's fun.
They've got some fun stuff working there, and obviously the Rams on offense have kind of been really, really enjoyable. And so I just think, from a TV viewing standpoint, this Rams-Colts game could be fun. There could be lots of points. There could be a lot of just 50-yard touchdowns where some guy is busted coverage and Puka Nacua is running, wild downfield. So I think it's going to be an entertaining game. So I'll pick that one.
Yeah, him and Downs has been pretty good. Downs and Pittman.
Yeah.
And Anthony Richardson, he hasn't had those plays yet where you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's incredible. We might see that this game.
We might.
And I'm excited for it.
Yeah. So that's one for me. Do you have any others that you're excited for?
I watch football all day long, every day. But are they more exciting than the ones we talked about? No, probably not.
Okay. All right, that's fair. The only ones I think that are worth mentioning is I'll say Eagles Commanders, because Commanders are going to be trying to be, coming off this loss. It's a division game, and if you'll remember, the Commanders were the ones who handed the Eagles their first loss of the season last year, and so yeah. So I'll say that one deserves to be mentioned. I'll tell you the one that won't be mentioned, and I won't even say the names of these teams. It's a team from a mountainous state and a team from a windy city. I hope Red Zone doesn't show one play from that game. I just don't even expose me to that. I wish, how on Twitter you can mute words, you can mute accounts. I just want to mute that game from Red Zone. Just don't even show it, Scott Hansen. Show the other games. So,
well, they won't be scoring touchdowns, so I don't think that'll be an issue.
True. So, all right. Anything else from you, Rosie, or you want to wrap it up?
I don't have anything else.
Okay. Well, that is going to do it for this week's episode of Making the Call. I'll do the dad joke this week. All right, it's kind of a two-part, so I'll need some. It's kind of a read and response with you, Rosie. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready.
All right. Which type of mouse can stroll on two legs?
I don't know.
Mickey Mouse. Okay.
Okay.
Now, which type of duck can walk on two legs?
Donald Duck.
No, all ducks can, you idiot.
I said Donald Duck and I was like, oh shoot, no, all ducks can. Whoops.
Oh, man. All right. Yeah, that's going to do it for the podcast. Thank you to Rosie for hopping on this week, talking some football with me. And thank you to the Texas Rangers for making me care about this playoff push. I'm excited to see, hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, whenever we are back here a week from now, we're talking about how the Rangers have won the division for the first time since 2016 and have turned the season around. And so I'm hoping that's what this next week is going to have in store for us. But
Go Astros.
I'm gonna bleep. I'm bleeping that from this podcast. I'm bleeping.
I didn't mean it.
So this week's gonna be a lot of fun. So thank you to the Rangers for making it interesting. Thank you to the lovely listener for tuning in, whether it's in podcast form or on the Making the Call YouTube. And also thank you to everyone who has subscribed to the Substack. Again, make sure you subscribe to that. It's free. Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back this Friday on the Substack for the next iteration of the Football Weekly newsletter, and we'll be back on this feed live on YouTube next Monday night at 7 o'clock, recapping the Week 4 action and any other big sports stories that we come across. So I hope everyone has a fantastic rest of your week, and we will see you next time.
Great pod.
Great pod, man. That was fun. Hopefully the Eagles just did their freaking push play.
I hate it so much.
They did it twice. The Bucks actually stopped them the first time. I hate it, man.
I need a big game from AJ Brown and Puka, and it doesn't look like it's happening.
Oh, let's check the guillotine here. Let's see. So Rhett's only gone 6 points from Puka, so he's at 62. Austin's at 68 with Jamar
I am
Chase.
not in the clear.
At 82?
Yeah, I mean,
You're in the clear.
if they get some big games.
I mean, Rhett would need another 20 points from Puka to surpass you.
That's true. I hope he gets it.
So let's see. Alex is at 60 with Godwin, and Rhett is at 62 with Puka. That's going to be tight.
Yeah, it looks like one of them.
Yeah, it does. Okay, so who does Alex have that's worth getting?
Hey, is your screen like slow for me? Like the voice and the
Like a delay or something?
yeah, because
No.
you have like a 3-second delay for me.
Oh. Your audio cut out for me for about 3 seconds, and then it came back, so that might be why.
No, my computer just does that when I that's a separate issue that I don't know how to fix.
Okay. So you want to hear something funny? So in a dynasty league that I'm tanking in, like I have like 6 first-round draft picks next year.
Ooh.
I'm excited because I have 6 first-round draft picks, and then I've got 4 second-round draft picks. So I'm trying to lose, and the guy I was going up against this week, he's also trying to lose, and he was only projected to score like 30 points, and I think I was projected to score like 50, and so I was trying to like manipulate my lineup however I could to try and figure out a way to maybe lose to him. One of the things that I did is I went against the projections, and I benched Javonte Williams for Devon Achane.
Oh no! Oh, you cleared.
Yeah, I beat him by 70 points.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I saw a stat that only like 0.7% of people started Devon Achane.
And they were probably all like you.
Yeah. I'm like, I'm one of the 0.7.
And my team is is clearing right now in Buedas. Oh my gosh, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah. I'm
Well,
gonna
I thought
be.
Navy had the best team. I was.
Oh, I actually made it. Oh no. Okay, yeah. Lindy's gonna drill me. Um,
You're in
man.
third though. I mean, not after this week, but
Yeah, Mike Williams is out for the year though, which my team was already thin. So I
you
don't
should
know.
sell me London.
I might end up selling, but not yet. I'm kind of in wait and see mode for this team. I'm not really making big moves until I decide if I'm gonna go for it or if I'm gonna blow it up, or not
Yeah,
blow it up, but just sell.
you're like right in between.
I know, which is not where you want to be. So I'm
No.
kind of waiting it out.
Well, you have your first round pick, so that's good. But
Mm-hmm.
you can also sneak into the playoffs. That's always fun too.
Yeah, so
Just
I'm
having a shake.
waiting till like week 7 or 8 to make a decision. Um, I mean, I've got players who have been playing well. Um, we'll see.
Yeah. Well, I'll catch you next time.
All right, see you, buddy. Thank you.
Bye, buddy.